Do we have TE?
We have T in Chicago, Illinois. You're live with Eric and Andrew. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Fantastic.
well. What did you want to talk about today?
Well, it sounded like you guys were interested in talking about the topic of the Constitution.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm going to go heat up a burrito. Y'all do you?
So, TE, let me make sure. Did you hear the intro segment?
Popcorn.
I heard part of it.
Okay. So I want to. So
yeah.
I started. Yep. Awesome. I want to walk you through some questions. First, I tried and I try and do this to be as charitable as I can to steelman your arguments. I understood your argument to be that the First Amendment does not require the separation of church and state. Is that a fair summary of your argument?
No, I think that there is a separation of church and state. I just think that it's not understood the way that most.
Cool. Well, that's why I asked. Cool. So tell me what you think the First Amendment means.
I think the First Amendment is a restriction on the government for religion, that it helps to promote the freedom of expression of religion. It's not to try to keep religion out of the schools like we've seen many secular organizations try to enforce through one-sided lawyers.
All right, it went off the rails a little bit at the end there, but let me see if I can't summarize it back to you. What you're saying is that the First Amendment does not prohibit some kind of promoting religion in public schools. Is that correct?
No, it does not. It does not prohibit that at all.
So your answer to my question was yes.
Okay, so the example that I gave the other night to try to help make my case was one of the founding fathers. The very year the First Amendment was created, Benjamin Rush promoted. He created a tract to promote the Bible in the classrooms.
Totally familiar with that. So in fact, we're going to start with the facts and then work our way to the principles. Who was Benjamin Rush?
He was one of our founding fathers.
Okay, what does it mean to be a founding father?
He helped to develop this country.
Okay, helped to develop this country in what way? What did Benjamin Rush specifically do to develop this country?
I believe he was part of Congress beforehand.
Okay, he was.
Want me to answer?
So, well, what I want, because it's easy to take people and label them as founding fathers. What we want to do as lawyers, understanding the Constitution, is figure out the role that people played in the specific documents that are foundational to our nation's history. So Benjamin Rush was
Jefferson. He would probably be a good example of that.
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson would be a super good example. Absolutely, right? Because Thomas Jefferson was the person upon whom James Madison relied in drafting the First Amendment. So would you agree with me then that Thomas Jefferson and James Madison's views on the First Amendment are super more instructive than Benjamin Rush's?
Well, I mean, that's sort of vague. Are you saying that they're more significant because they had their involvement in the...
Try it like this. Who wrote the First Amendment?
James Madison did.
James Madison. So if you want to know what our founding fathers thought the First Amendment meant, and you could only ask one person in history, and I give you the choice between James Madison or Benjamin Rush, who would you pick? It's not a hard question.
I don't think it's that simple.
This is a super easy question. Come on.
Simple.
Yeah, it is that simple. You get to pick one. Whose views are more instructive for what the First Amendment means? The guy who wrote it or some other dude?
I can give you an answer. But you're going to have to let me talk. I think it's a bit more complex than that because most of the
I disagree, but go ahead.
And arguments. Well, most of the founding fathers stood in arguments with one another, and we know that Thomas Jefferson didn't. And I have to ask, where are you leading with this? Because we don't agree with the idea of separation of church and state, and we have
I thought you said you did.
Rush, one of the founding fathers. No. We don't disagree with the idea of separation of church and state. Just the interpretation.
Who's we, by the way? I'm just curious.
I'm assuming there's no disagreement with separation of church and state, right? We both agree that separation of church and state is there.
You and I fundamentally disagree over what that means, because your specific example is that it's okay
what
to
I'm
pray
trying
in
to
public
say,
schools.
there's
So
only
we definitely
founding
disagree.
fathers out of the 56 people who were together in developing the Constitution.
That's not, that number is bullshit, by the way. That's a David Barton misinformation. There were not 56 people who drafted the Constitution. That is nonsense. Keep going.
Well,
it's nonsense. You have been reading. Do you have a point to make?
Do you actually have a point to make? Do you want me to talk? I'm trying to get a thought out, but you need to let me speak, okay?
I'm going to let you speak, but when you say something that's wrong, I'm going to correct you.
You haven't shown me where I'm wrong in anything yet, but I would like to finish my thought. So
Go for it.
Benjamin Rush, who was one of the founding fathers, we need to think about it, okay? You're claiming that the separation of church and state means something specifically, okay? And I'm claiming that it means something different. So we have Benjamin Rush, one of the founding fathers. He was one of the founding fathers. The very year the amendment was created by James Madison, which was helped to be created by Thomas Jefferson. He's the one who introduced it to him. Okay, he is enforcing this or promoting this idea of the Bible in the classrooms. Can you show me any of the founding fathers who stopped that activity because it violated separation of church and state? I know certain founding fathers who didn't like the idea of the Bible in the classrooms because they thought that it was way as they got older. But the separation of church and state understood by you doesn't exist in any of the writings by any of the founding fathers.
So that's not true. But B, let me go back and answer your question.
Prove it.
No, I'm about to do that. So I need you to answer a couple questions first. Okay. So number one, how many? Right. So you asked me a question. I'm doing my best here, brother. Okay. So your claim is that Benjamin Rush promoted a tract for use in public schools, and that informs our view of the First Amendment, correct?
Yes, it informs part of our view on the First Amendment.
Good. I'm glad. We're going to try and have a productive conversation. Awesome. That was 1791 when he wrote that tract, right?
It was 1791, I believe. It was the very year the First Amendment was created.
The year the First Amendment was adopted. Okay, cool. How many public schools were there in the United States in 1791?
How many public schools? Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Yeah. So would you like to know the answer?
Okay, who cares?
2. I kind of think it's important, if you're going to be arguing about the view of the First Amendment as it applies today, to understand the institutions to which you're claiming the law did or did not apply back in 1791. So the answer, as far as I can tell, is 2.
You need to get to a point, though. You need to get to your point. Where's your evidence?
You're on mute. Look, dude. This is a show that you are on at our leisure, and we can drop you. This is not the TE show. Andrew had a question, and either you're going to answer it, or we're going to move on to the next call. That is how this works. You're off mute. You're back. Hi, TE.
So am I allowed to answer freely? I've done this research for years, and I can defend myself.
No, you haven't. You have not.
But I'm going to have to answer for myself.
Tell me. No. Tell me how you define research, because I know what you've done. You've read David Barton's pseudo-history, which is so bad, major publishers have had to rescind his books. Okay.
Let me give you an example. Okay. So far, I'm the only one who's been able to reference. Can I speak, please? Can I finish my thought? All I want to do is
just get it over with. Go.
Okay.
No,
so I'm the only one who's shown a founding father who made a direct claim. Okay. Okay. Am I going to talk? Can I talk?
I haven't said anything.
Okay. So last time, here's what I mean by research. Okay. When I was on the call last time, when I was removed from the call, the person that I was speaking to claimed, he repeated rhetoric that I'm hearing very familiar, like yourself, that Thomas Jefferson was a deist, and then I was removed and I was
No.
There is
stop this.
If you go to the actual source,
you have me
he doesn't say
on
that.
the call now, not last week,
and you are not providing any evidence, sir.
I'm
the only one who showed what a founding father actually said.
Just tell me when to mute him.
So here's what I'm pointing out. You're repeating claims and you don't understand those claims. So when you say that Benjamin Rush
did what you said they shouldn't do.
So when I asked you how many when you said Benjamin Rush wrote a tract for use in public
schools, show me any founding father who did different.
Please,
anyone.
On mute. Shut up.
Okay.
Listen.
So, TE, you said Benjamin Rush wrote a tract for use of teaching the Bible in public schools. And then I asked you how many public schools there were in 1791.
You're just spewing a lot of rhetoric. Show me a founding father proving your claim. I can prove it. You want to
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, thanks. So, so I kind of think you ought to know what your claim is if you're going to make it. But I have a very, very specific question for you. There is one right answer, and I will allow you to Google it while I'm talking. And that question is, do you know when the First Amendment was incorporated to the states? There is a simple answer. It is a year. It is a number, or you can give the case as well. Please answer that question.
Unmuting him now. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think it's important for us to summarize that I was able to give a founding father who promoted the Bible in the classrooms. You
muted.
T, I'm going to give you one more chance. This is a year and a case. You don't have to name the case, but you do have to name the year, because the First Amendment did not apply to the states until it was incorporated. And so your question is worse than nonsense. When you say, show me a founding father who disagreed, of course they did not disagree, because you can't disagree until the First Amendment applies to the states. And that didn't happen until this year. Would you like to say the year, or would you like us to move on?
Well, Andrew, here's the problem. The First Amendment, when it was put in place.
This is just, so again, I want to be super clear while TE listens and is unhappy about the fact that he's suffering cognitive dissonance because he's read a book that claims to be history. And it's super hard when you realize that people in positions of authority are lying to you. And I don't use that lightly, okay? Not all pastors or revisionists or whatever are lying. Some people are just misunderstood. David Barton is a liar. He is engaged in deliberate dishonesty and has manufactured stuff. Okay. And this argument is so preposterously bad. You could take any lawyer and TE, I encourage you. I know you don't believe me. I'm some goofball on the internet. I mean, I did graduate top of my class from Harvard Law School, but whatever. Talk to a conservative lawyer in your town. Talk to a Trump supporting lawyer and ask him if this argument makes any sense. And that lawyer, she will tell you, no, it does not. And the reason is the First Amendment did not apply to the states until 1925. The case is called Gitlow versus New York. You can look it up when you go back and listen to this conversation, not that you will. And so the idea that the founding fathers would think that state practices in the Massachusetts colony would violate the First Amendment is nonsense. The First Amendment didn't apply to Massachusetts in 1791, and no one thought it did. So it's not instructive for your position. And you're just repeating garbage that David Barton has been selling. And I'm done. Sorry.
David Barton, come at us.
Yeah. No. I'd love it if he called in.
That said, see, this is why I want you here. When there's something that is obviously outside of my expertise, I'm really, really glad that we can bring someone like you in who does understand, does know, and has done the research. So I'm really glad that you're here to do that, because I could not engage at that level.
And look, like you saw, and I hope that he goes away and we put, a little bit of a stone in his shoe, because, you saw he didn't want to answer the question. He knows Benjamin Rush had nothing to do with the drafting of the Constitution or the drafting of the First Amendment. And to lump everybody together as founding fathers and to say Benjamin Rush's opinion counts as much as James Madison's, it's just nonsense. And he knows that, he really does. And maybe he'll go back and look and sort of see how cherry picked these things are. No question, Benjamin Rush, super religious dude, wanted the Constitution to be way more religious than he was. I would, by the way, the reason I cut him off, because he is right on this. You shouldn't say that Thomas Jefferson was a deist, right? That's a thing that we as atheists shouldn't say. Thomas Jefferson was what I would call a Protestant rationalist, right? Like he definitely believed in God. I mean, but he had his Bible where he, razored out all the miracles and stuff. So I think it's deist implies watchmaker, totally impersonal, wound up the universe and then stepped away. And I want us to be careful that we don't give them accidental ammunition. I was not going to go down that rabbit trail. It is 100% clear that zero of the founding fathers were fundamentalist Christians in the way that they're being co-opted today, right? Most of them were non-Orthodox. Plenty of them were deists. Benjamin Rush was an Episcopalian, right? Like, and super religious, right? Like the point isn't the religious identities of the founding fathers. The point is they created a secular government, and that's just inarguable. So,
all right.